How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. So if you've been on YouTube in the past 48 hours, you've probably seen a half a dozen to dozens of videos about the recent events in Russia, Ukraine with the drone attack on a Russian airbase. And I believe, at least by now, there's been upwards of 3 different drone attacks. Now, the reason that this is such a big deal to everyone, and I do believe that it is a big deal, but I kind of, I'll explain it a bit, but these are attacks in Russian territory, so these are not attacks in Ukraine. These are on air bases in Russia. So, I mean, obviously, it kind of points out one of the reasons why Russia would feel the need to have a buffer zone in the area and not be directly up against a NATO country, and that's one of the reasons that allegedly started all this, is that they're trying to prevent Ukraine from becoming a NATO country and have that buffer. But regardless, the point is that everyone sees this as a major escalation because it's attacking potentially nuclear capable bombers in Russian territory. The fight is not taking place in Ukraine. So it's obviously an escalation. From what I can tell, the attacks were not severe in terms of their impact. Might have even been mostly thwarted in some cases, and then just the debris from a shot down drone may have been what caused some of the damage. Not sure, but regardless, they weren't terribly destructive. I see this as being, obviously, Ukraine wants to get as many other countries involved as possible. And logically, that makes sense. Whether or not you think it's right or wrong or whatever, it makes sense for them to want to get NATO to do more on their side. They almost certainly would lose against Russia without NATO help. NATO is helping, and they're still probably going to be in a really rough spot. I mean, they are in a really rough spot, and they still probably would eventually lose without actual direct intervention from NATO, not just financial and material support. So they're trying to get, escalate it. But also, I see this as specifically trying to thwart, and I've only seen 1 or 2 other people mention this, but we know that, or not know, I guess, but I assumed that Russia has been planning a pretty big offensive to happen during the winter with the mobilization. And one of the things that some people are predicting is that this would start with a pretty heavy air raid of some kind. And we're seeing that, they saw these bombers get mobilized. Some people saw that as just like a threat of nuclear attack, but that certainly could be leading up to a major offensive that they're planning. And this drone attack could be acknowledging that, that they realize that, and there's some last-ditch attempt to try and stop it. That's why they're attacking air bases specifically. If they were just trying to escalate to the point of, enticing or goading Russia into doing something to get NATO involved, then, that could work, but there's probably other things that they could have done. But I see this as them specifically going after their air capabilities in particular, because they're worried about, an upcoming offensive that's going to use that as a big part of the initial strategy. So I guess we'll find out within the next few weeks, because I had assumed, based on my interpretation of the events, that they would be doing something, they being Russia, would be doing some sort of offensive in probably, I thought by the end of the year, but certainly by the end of, say, February, while we're still solidly in winter. So I wouldn't be surprised if it started by the end of the year. That's kind of what I expect still. But whether it's the end of the year or in January, doesn't really matter long term. But that's what I expect. And I think that's why this was done. I think it was just like a last-ditch kind of desperate effort on Ukraine's part to stop that. And then it's just as a bonus if they try to goad Russia into doing something that would get NATO even more involved. I don't see this as being like specifically the trigger that's going to send Russia into launching nukes, because for one, like I said, it wasn't all that damaging or effective. And 2, I think it was, they already planned to be doing this new offensive, so I don't think they're going to deviate from that strategy and that plan unless something major were to happen. And these attacks don't qualify as that. It's definitely a provocation and escalation to attack stuff within Russia, but I don't think it's going to change them from their course, which is already, in my mind, to launch a major reoffensive within the coming weeks and months. So let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of people disagree on this. We'll see what happens. I've said before many times, I don't support the invasion of Ukraine. But I am trying to look at this from a purely logical standpoint, not just on, being a fanboy of Ukraine or Russia or and but looking at all sides, all data, and just trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen so that we can be prepared. That's what this channel is all about. Thanks for watching, guys, and check out worldwasteland.com, and I'll talk to you soon.